All they had to do was have Goldberg win the Elimination Chamber, but no! Triple H had to continue politicking his way to that fucking Reign of Terror for the rest of our fucking lives. Actually, only for about the next year and a half. I'm John Ritlin with a retro review of WWE SummerSlam 2003. How was that for a fucking opening? Again, that main event. That fucking main event. Goldberg, while never my favorite wrestler, should have won that main event. And the fact that he didn't, the fact that Triple H did so much horseshit in 2003 is one of the reasons why, A, he's never been one of my favorite wrestlers, one of my least favorite wrestlers, regardless of how good he can be in the ring. He can work with the top guy, but he can never be the top guy. He's one of the worst world champions that they ever had. And also, he's not the savior of NXT and WWE because he's always going to let his ego get in the way, and this is a prime example. 17 years has not changed a fucking thing. So, how was the rest of the show? One, they dubbed over Saint Anger from Metallica, if you remember that song. It was a bit of a weird song during a weird time in Metallica's career. So, it was, but, the dubbed over thing was kind of funny. So, we start with the Dudleys versus La Resistance members Sylvain Grenier and Rene Dupree, who had his French tickler all out. Remember that? Remember the French tickler dance? I'm sorry if you do, because, they had to use that slight adult humor there. This is also back when they could get away with calling something the French tickler instead of later, the submission sorority. Oh dear. So, it was for the World Tag Team Championships on WWE Raw, because this was during the Raw SmackDown brand split when it was good. And I'm not talking now, well, now it's messy, but when they tried the second brand split, it actually sort of worked for a while. And this is when, even though SmackDown was starting to lag because they were like, shit, we gotta get Raw's ratings back up, SmackDown still had some good shit, but this was Raw. Spike, Dudley, and Rob Conway would make appearances during this. Rob Conway had just debuted on the main roster. It was okay. It wasn't great. There was a lot of messy stuff here. 3D, the ref got pulled out. A cameraman attacks, and it turns out to be Rob Conway. Rene Dupree gets the cover for 3. Spike comes out to attack, and then gets laid out. And then, yeah, okay, we got La Resistance there, and it just, I liked La Resistance as a team. I thought Grenier and Dupree were actually a pretty good team, but Dupree was very green, and Grenier was never great in the ring. I mean, I liked the theme, and I thought they actually worked well together, but they need a lot more seasoning. And unfortunately, they didn't get that. And then we have Eric Bischoff preparing for his match with Shane McMahon. Oh dear. And he's talking to Christian, who is the current Intercontinental Champion and not booked on the show. They had gotten rid of the Intercontinental Championship during that unification match at No Mercy 2002, Triple H versus Kane in the Katie Vick storyline. We're not even a number of months removed from that. Well, actually, just about a year, but still, Katie Vick, the Katie Vick storyline. Raw was a shit show at this point. So, but yeah, Christian, not on the show. They brought the Intercontinental Championship back, I think, at Judgment Day 2003, and Christian had won it. And yeah, he couldn't be featured on the show because we need a whole bunch of backstage shit, and we need Eric Bischoff and Shane McMahon to get 10 and a half fucking minutes. I like some of this show, by the way, I will be kind, but this show has not aged well at all. It's weird because while the crowd was hot for most of it, the ending just fucking killed it. The ending absolutely fucking killed the crowd. But this was during the time where Bischoff was like, he was, preying on Linda McMahon after he was targeting Linda McMahon. Linda McMahon had gotten tombstoned by Kane and then was convalescing, and he got her in a hotel room while Vince McMahon was behind the camera and watched Eric Bischoff kiss his wife. Vince McMahon is a very strange and also disturbed individual who wanted to pitch the idea of being the father of Stephanie McMahon's kid. Vince McMahon is a disturbed individual. So he said he would tell the world what happened with Lynn McMahon later. We then get The Undertaker versus A-Train with Sable, one of the biggest gutter you-know-whats that was ever in wrestling. I have no problem saying that. Sable got a lot of big ratings. People liked her. That's fine. If you like Sable, fucking tremendous. You know what Sable did for me? Made me wish that I had, had my dick cut off when I was born. I would rather do that than ever think about sleeping with whatever the fuck that goddamn gutter you-know-what was. She was a goddamn atrocity, a horrible-looking human being, And I'm not the picture perfect, person of health. I'm not. But I will say the same damn thing regardless of gender. She was fucking hideous. There were vastly more talented and vastly more attractive women that they could have pushed during that time. Sure, she got ratings. It was the Attitude Era. We were all idiots. I watch a bunch of shit. I like The Rock and Mankind This Is Your Life segment. Looking back on it, it wasn't very good television, but it got a lot of big ratings. Sable was an embarrassment to women's wrestling. A goddamn embarrassment. She also did not deserve to be brought back in 2003. Thankfully, her and Brock are happy and she's off TV, and maybe she will hopefully never accept an invitation into the WWE Hall of Fame, because others deserve to go in there before she does. The fucking Bellas deserve to go in before Sable does, and the Bellas actually will be going in. And I don't even care for the Bellas necessarily. This is about Sable. She set women's wrestling back at least 15 fucking years. And they had to dig themselves out of the goddamn hole, and it took a while for women to be able to be taken seriously. You had Jacqueline, you had Ivory, you had so many people. Nope, let's push Sable, who literally looked like a fucking real doll. And talked like one, too. She was a fucking embarrassment. So, she thankfully didn't do anything. Best use for the goddamn real doll is to just sit there and do nothing like she should have done for her entire career. But she never wanted to take any bumps or whatever, because she might get hurt. Well, guess what? Wrestling ain't, it ain't wrapping you in bubble wrap. She's getting paid a shit ton of money to do absolutely nothing. She didn't have any goddamn talent. And so many other women deserve. Did I mention that? Moving on. This match wasn't all that good, though, because A-Train was like McMahon's hired gun, so to speak, to protect Sable, and Stephanie McMahon had been taken out. She was the SmackDown GM, so, of course, she's going to make an appearance here. They had a messy, finish here. Chair to A-Train. Chokeslam pins him. Sable tries to flirt with Undertaker. And then he, grabs her by the throat. But pretty much just grabs her to hold her there while Stephanie gets there. They have a brief brawl. They're trying to make me cheer for Stephanie, so I automatically hate this pay-per-view more than I originally did. Even though I'm going to praise some stuff a little bit later. Cool. Good. Fucking good. We're off to a goddamn snoring start so far. And then Bischoff talks about Linda, what he did with Linda, and what he didn't do with Linda. And apparently he did a lot of stuff with Linda. Linda kept one eye on the hotel door and one eye on Eric Bischoff. Linda McMahon deserves every bit of criticism that she gets as well for who she is working for. I don't fucking care if that gets me in trouble. I want to take a moment to say right now that if you guys watch my channel and you guys love my channel, I appreciate that regardless of if we agree or disagree on wrestling. That's cool. However, if you have a problem with me voicing my political opinions, fuck you. I don't care. It's my channel. Go somewhere else and stuff like that. Politics and wrestling have been tied together for a while. And the McMahons deserve every bit of criticism they get. So, he keeps talking about Linda. Bischoff does. Here comes Shane. They have a bit of a brawl. And it's supposed to be a regular match. Then Coach interferes. Jonathan Coachman is one of the most embarrassing characters to ever be brought onto WWE television. And deserves every bit of hate that he ever got. Not racism, not that, but he deserved every bit of scorn that he got because he was a terrible commentator, terrible personality. Yes, he actually claimed to have one, somehow. And the fact that he was ever allowed in multiple Royal Rumbles was embarrassing. Fucking embarrassing. Yeah, anyway, so he was like Carlton if Carlton was a fucking annoyance and you wanted to see him get the shit beat out of him every single time. But actually, you just wanted to see him get off TV. So, Coach got involved. Because I didn't hate it before. And then, Bischoff decided to make it no count out, no DQ, falls count anywhere. Okay, cool. And then Austin's here. Austin cannot, Austin, by the way, cannot touch anybody without being physically provoked. And then Coach gets shoved into him by Shane. And he beats the shit out of him. Good. Should have literally kicked him in the groin so he could have never fathered any children. So, yes, I'm being vicious. I don't care. Coach apparently is a massive harasser, so he deserves these kind of words. So, yeah, and Bischoff gets elbow dropped through the announcer's table and Shane wins. And then, Shane's holding him up like he's Weekend at Bernie's and slaps Bischoff, or Bischoff slaps Austin with Shane's help. And then he beats the shit out of him as well. And they drink beer and everything. I'm glad that Steve Austin found a role to do some stuff, but, it got kind of old because he couldn't take any bumps. I mean, he took like one F5 from Brock just before Mania 20. Oh boy. That match, that was a fun match. 2003 was a rough year for WWE because they had some good stuff going. Raw wasn't all shit. And yes, the crowd was hot. But the ruthless aggression era, easy for me to say, was not really that great. It was better in the Attitude Era. Katie Vick and other shit notwithstanding. At least storyline and match quality wise. I admit the Attitude Era had more iconic moments. This was not really a match. It was just an angle, and it was kind of bad. Here we go. Eddie versus Benoit versus Rhino versus Tajiri. Fatal 4-way match. Benoit in a fatal 4-way. Still not as one side as a handicap match he would have just under 3 years later. That's going to get me some hate. And honestly, this was a fun U.S. title fatal 4-way because you had Eddie and Benoit at Vengeance the month before. Rhino interfered, costing Benoit, his friend at the time, his tag team partner at the time, a chance to become the inaugural WWE U.S. champion. And Tajiri was also thrown in here for reasons, but actually for fun. Tajiri actually made this match more fun. And they, well-paced, good near falls, really good stuff. At one point, Eddie got the U.S. title. Rhino went for the gore. Eddie used his shield. And then even after Tajiri tried to get the victory, Benoit tried to get him. Of course, he left a smaller man hanging at one point because that's what his specialty was. And then a frog splash 1, 2, 3, and Eddie retains the title. So we then get to Matt running down Zach Gowen on Sunday Night Heat because Zach Gowen couldn't compete because Lesnar beat the shit out of him. And I think they would eventually have a match at No Mercy 03. Zach Gowen would not last long in WWE. It's unfortunate, but I sort of get it. He did actually have some cool moments on SmackDown. He in a one-legged moonsault. Don't know how the fuck that's fucking determination. I mean, I can barely want to get out of bed in the morning. He lost his leg to fucking cancer, and went through a whole lot of shit and managed to become a wrestler and do some shit. So good on him. He has kids also, so really good on him. So Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar WWE title match. That's not sarcastic clapping. Fucking terrific. Fucking terrific. Great shit. Really, really great shit. I really enjoyed this. This was great. I really can't say enough good shit about it. Fantastic. Lots of scissoring action in this. And there was a lot of, really good submission work and everything. Of course, Brock kept getting his ankle targeted. He kept trying to beat down Angle, going for the bad neck and all that. Vince McMahon interfered, apparently coming back from vacation, judging by the shirt. And he tried to cause Kurt to lose. Eventually, Brock hit a F5 while, hobbling on his leg to sell the whole thing. And drops Kurt. I mean, he hits the F5, but ow, it looks like Kurt got spiked. And even with the ref bump, and even with the asshole chance to Vince, Kurt would not be deterred. Eventually, got the ankle lock on, and Brock Lesnar tapped out. Vince McMahon, who could have pulled the ref out at any point, made no attempt to do that. The ref may have not known and may have not disqualified him. I mean, I'm just saying, Vince McMahon runs the goddamn company, so it's not like he couldn't have made that kind of decision. But anyway, Angle retains, and then they would have that incredible Iron Man match on SmackDown, the September 18, 2003 edition. And then Angle hits an Angle Slam on Vince on a chair. On Vince's birthday. It really looked like he stiffed Vince on that. No, that's not a euphemism. It really looks like Vince got hurt. I hope he was alright. Except Vince is kind of a dick, so I mean, kind of karma. So, Kane versus RVD. No holds barred, apparently. And this is when Kane was going full on, just fucking killing everybody. He set JR on fire. That was hilarious. He tombstone Linda. Didn't reset her eyes, oddly enough, or make her realize that supporting certain idiots in the White House wasn't a good idea. Maybe that's why. Maybe Kane knocked her brain loose. So, oh boy, it was fine. There were ladders and weapons and shit brought out because no holds barred. Tombstone onto the steps, and Kane won. It wasn't like RVD looked weak. It was just whatever. It was what it was. And then Orton versus Nash versus Jericho versus Michaels versus Triple H versus Goldberg. Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Second Elimination Chamber match. Remember when the Chamber felt special? Remember when it felt special and actually didn't feel like, it was just all watered down? I'm glad that they make it a little safer having the mats and stuff like that, but just don't have a Chamber match if you're not going to let them, go full on, full bore and just do a bunch of stuff to themselves. I just, at this point, it's like having a bouncy castle. I'm not saying that it can't hurt landing on that shit, but still, Just don't do it. So, Triple H had a torn groin, or an injured groin, something like that. He was wearing bike shorts, and he was clearly more disheveled, probably because he couldn't, do the training he did to come back all massive in January 2002. Training, clearly not doing any kind of HGH or roids. Not that he's the only one. I'm not saying that, but look at how he looked before he left, and then look how he looked when he came back. He couldn't even move. He was like Scott Steiner. And this is also, just months after he had feuded with Scott Steiner. He had a lot of shit feuds in 2003. I hated the Triple H Reign of Terror. I actually did a video on that about 2.5 years ago. And I loved laying into that because, yes, Triple H studied wrestling and studied classic wrestling and wanted to be this incredible, champion. He wanted to take it back to old school and feud with people, build up feuds and everything. But then Booker T, he lost to Booker T, thankfully, in Mania 19. No, he fucking didn't. Someone like you will never be champion. Triple H right there deserved to never be allowed in a wrestling ring again. And I don't care if people want to say Booker T wasn't ready. Booker T could have won the championship for 6 goddamn weeks. And then dropped it back to Triple H, and he could have feuded with Nash, and they could have knocked Booker right back down the card. But at least it would have justified all that fucking racism. That was a racist storyline. That was also a time where I lost respect for Bruce Pritchard, because a number of years ago on his whole podcast, he said it wasn't a racist storyline. I don't know if Bruce is racist. I know he's a fucking idiot who should have been swallowed by his goddamn mother so he didn't have to endure any of his goddamn ideas, fucking idiot. But it was a racist storyline. It wasn't about WCW versus WWE. It was someone like you will never be champion. People like you are here to make people like me laugh. I told you I was going to be angry during this. I will always be angry about that. Making jokes is my specialty. I will do that shit. But there's an example of not doing this shit. It was bad. It was really fucking bad. Really fucking bad. I fucking hated it. So, this match. All they had to do was have Goldberg win. That's it. That's all they fucking had to do. I'm not even that big of a fan of Goldberg. Goldberg was a phenomenon. And that Muppet song is probably in your head because it always plays in my head whenever I say phenomenon. Do. Now, this was a pretty good chamber match, actually, with some good storytelling. Jericho Michaels started out. Triple H couldn't start out because he hurt his little groin, so he couldn't, keep going. Wrestling's a tough business, and I will not say Triple H has not fought through injuries, but with his injury, he should have just lost here. So, Jericho Michaels start out first, continuing their feud that, started months before, but especially at the Rumble 2003, and then escalated at Mania 19. They would have a much better feud in 2008. Great feud, by the way. But, okay. Has Orton come in. Orton, who was still a fresh face at this point, and had returned from injury. Batista was still a bit away from returning from injury. I think it was like October of 2003, so it was a couple months after this. And he was doing pretty well and everything. It would be a year before he would beat Benoit for the world title. And then lose it a month later. And then I was at the Raw right after Unforgiven 2004, which was pretty fun. So, Orton's in third. Nash comes in. Tears his quad. No. Nash comes in with the bleach blonde hair because he was going to go film Punisher. And Jericho's bleeding. He's not in very long. Super kick to Nash. And then Jericho covers for 3. And then Triple H is in 5th while everybody's recovering, and a super kick to Triple H, and he's back in his pod. Nash then goes nuts, jackknifes Jericho and Orton. And then the crowd's all chanting for Goldberg. Goldberg comes in, and they let him be Goldberg. I'm not even a big fan of Goldberg, by the way. I literally think that Goldberg by this point was fucking washed. He was not a natural in the ring, but what he did worked. He was really good at what he did. And for a period of time in WCW, he really was the guy. And then the, Starrcade 98 and all that shit, and it was really hard to recover from that. The Finger Boke of Doom, which I know that he ran in at the end of, but still. WCW like shooting himself in the foot. So, moving on from this. Goldberg, spear to Orton. Boom. One gone. Jericho speared through the pod door. Kinda. It was a bit wonky. They probably should have gimmicked that a little better. Then spear and jackhammer to Jericho for 3. Michaels. And then spear and jackhammer to Jericho. Down to Goldberg versus Triple H. Then the doors kicked in, and Goldberg, because he's kind of a doofus in the ring, cuts his leg up and everything. It looked kind of bad because you could see it. I think they added some of it, but he was bleeding down his, below his knee, and you could see a gash on his thigh. And then he's got Triple H there. Flair slides in the sledgehammer, and boom, hits the spear, and the crowd died. And Goldberg's run in WWE died. That is what they did to Goldberg. They took it up, they crumpled it, and they threw it away. That's all they did. I'm not using the term buried very often. They did bury him. Yes, he won the world title a month later. But they beat the shit out of him, bloodied him, hit him with multiple sledgehammer shots, just because Triple H had to let everybody know he's the man, he's going to do this and everything, and it was fucking stupid. Even if you aren't a big fan of Goldberg, he should have won there, and he fucking didn't. It's fucking stupid. I'm fucking shot after doing this. My voice is shot. I'm done with this review. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.